You know, honestly, I just want to cast a Stoneforge Mystic and have it be good. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we have a deck list coming to us from Night Fox, which is this cool Esper Ephemerate Blink nonsense. If you take a look at the numbers here, this is a deck that is not maxed out on most things. It has a lot of copies of a ton of different plans. So we can Phelia and blink a Stoneforge. We can Phelia and blink a Riddler. We can ephemerate our creatures as protection. We can ephemerate our creatures to do the whole, hey, I'm going to accumulate a ton of cards via Quantum Riddler thing. And when our opponents inevitably fatal push our creatures, we can bring them back with reanimates. And we will see if this sort of mid-range plan is better than just maxing out on some of the good things. In kind of being a jack of all trades deck here, we do have 3 wastelands in this mana base, and we're also trying to play a bunch of basic lands. We don't really have the basic land payoff though, so there's not like a back to basics style card in the sideboard here. I wonder if that is something that potentially could be included in the deck. And because we're hedging in a couple of different directions here, we don't have some of the things like Cryptic Coat or Pre-War Formal Wear that you might see out of some similar Stoneforge Mystic looking decks. And instead, we are going for the protection from black, given where the current metagame is at. There is a decent amount of Fatal Push and Bowmasters running around. We'll see if that actually feels good. But we do still have the good old-fashioned Batterskull in the sideboard, which can be a beating versus decks like Izzet Tempo. I don't think I have too much else to say here, so let's go ahead and get into the video here. I just got an email saying that my creator badge has been approved for MagicCon Vegas, so you'll be seeing me there. And if you're there, maybe you should buy some cards from TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU always saves you 5% on your order, and if you go to a large event like a MagicCon or a RC or something where TOA is going to be there, you can place your order online and just pick it up on site, and it is super convenient. Alright, let's battle. Alright, I've kept my opening hand here. We've got a Force of Will and a couple of cantrips to sculpt things this game. I do not have a removal spell, so that becomes an obligatory. I need to Force of Will that, and hopefully our opponent does not have the days for it immediately. If they have the days, I also don't get to wasteland them, which is the best thing that I can do in the early game here. I think I'm still gonna wasteland immediately. But that is a tough decision, because that is just my own turn 1 Tamiyo. But given that I have 2 lands here, I think I like waiting a turn. And now we'll go in. I think I'll grab an Underground Sea here. And I will attempt my own Tamiyo. Now, notably, Tamiyo's text is return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. So I do not want to flip this Tamiyo. Opponent says no to a Delta. And has another Delta. Ooh, are we doomsdaying over there? Sure feels like we're doomsdaying over there. In which case, my whole ephemerate thing is pretty bad. So, I expect that if my opponent builds a Cavern of Souls pile, I just can't win. Alright, that was very fast. They probably are doing a stockpile. The opponent has a decent amount of tempo stuff in their deck here. I will make my clue with Tamiyo. The clues are not relevant this game as of right now. Let's try to sculpt a plan. Well, I think the Force of Will is not likely relevant. I'm going to take that Brainstorm. If my opponent has built the pile thinking that they are going to have the Brainstorm, that probably buys a lot of time. And now we're going to ponder. Wasteland is, I guess, reasonable. Stoneforge into Kaldra for 5 damage is not 9 damage. Wasteland is reasonable. Brainstorm is reasonable. Stoneforge Mystic is not great. I guess I'll take this. There's an Edge of Autumn. So now my opponent might already just be deep enough in their deck where this is game over for me. Yeah. I don't have a Force of Will here or a removal spell or anything to interact. So we die. And casting the Brainstorm on the next turn is also a little awkward. All right. We can consign some Thassa's Oracle triggers. And I should be expecting to play a game versus Tamiyos and Bowmasters and Goyfs and Murktide Regents, and the Doomsday is just the thing that I have to worry about at the end. So I don't think I'm going to fart around with Leyline of the Void, but these are all things that I can be thinking about. I'm certainly not going to play all of them. Probably not going to Prismatic Ending. I don't think I need the life gain of Batterskull. I think Kaldra is often going to be fine. I probably go down on Reanimates or remove them entirely. Supreme Verdict could be a step too far, and then I'll just, like, go down one Ephemerate. The end result is that I'm basically playing the Game 1 deck again. That is a Snow-Covered Swamp. That doesn't cast all of my good blue cards. This is the sort of day it's going to be. That Wasteland does not cast my good blue cards. And unfortunately, my opponent is keeping their 7. So at this stage, I'm keeping. I get rid of that. And I suspect that I usually lose to combo here. So I think I'm going to keep the things that beat fair stuff. The next question, do I have a Surveil land in this mana base? I do not, because we're trying to shove the Wastelands in there. So in that case, I will just play Tundra. Sure. I will just cast this. Cool. Redraw one Wasteland, I think. Then we'll play our fetch land on our own turn and throw down a Tamiyo. Our opponent has their own Tamiyo, which is not great. I'll just snap off my own Wasteland and start accumulating clues. But since I'm down 2 cards already, this is rougher than I would like it to be. Opponent does have more land still. They now get to investigate right back. Bowmasters is okay. I don't know that I play that immediately, as my opponent is a Bowmasters deck as well. I would like to get it out of my hand, because Quantum Riddler is a thing, but I might just be cracking a clue. I just don't really want to Bowmasters into my opponent's Bowmasters. There's a Douthie Voidwalker, sure. In that case, I'll take this opportunity to go ahead and Bowmasters. Ooh, opponent just says no. Okay. Force of Negation, the pickup here. I've already drawn 1 card per turn. Sorry, 1 card this turn. So now Quantum Riddler is a draw 2. That'll transform Tamiyo. He did not run as hot as possible, but I can still Thoughtseize here. I have to get Scrubland to do that. Let's see what's going on over there. We'll take Kaito. Alright, cool. So I've got a Tamiyo that my opponent can attack for 2, but that does not actually get anywhere in terms of taking Tamiyo off the board. So then hopefully I can crack a bunch of clue tokens and then eventually just cast this and move on with my life. Tamiyo mirrors. Tamiyo back down to 2 loyalty. Cavern on Wizard. Cracking a clue. Opponent could have flipped their Tamiyo there and did not. So I'm going to plus Tamiyo. I think I'm interested in drawing here. While Bowmaster is not available. Did not hit a blue card for Force of Negation. And I end up getting punished for playing the Stoneforge second. But if I drew a removal spell, I wanted to be able to remove these first. So I do not regret my sequencing, even though Days got me there. Alright, opponent drawing another card. Glad it wasn't Kaito there. Kaito popping into play right now would be pretty annoying. Tamiyo pluses again. I can just Riddler. I think I want to Clue again, though. I would like to remove these creatures. I'm probably doing that. See if I can find a blue card to pair with Force of Negation. Okay, I did. Is it the Cavern? Cavern doesn't cast things that look like this. I think I'm going to leave them with the Cavern. Take out a different land. They could Edge of Autumn cycle here. And they do. But if that's going towards not flipping Tamiyo, I am overall happy with that. We have yet another Delta coming down. Tamiyo triggers, shrinking the Douthie once again. Blue happens. I'm going to go ahead and dismiss that. Damn, opponent found the Kaito, which dodges my Force of Negation. Yep. So this is now a nuisance. Opponent just making the Kaito larger. So let's try to form a plan here to deal with these things. Those cards are not good. Phelia could reset loyalty on that. That's not the most relevant. What is my plan for a Kaito? Attack it? Wait, hold up. Do I not have swords or fatal push in this deck? My brain just assumed that those were in this deck. Oh god. Well, we're in it. But I think I found a deck construction problem, folks. I guess let's try to find a Solitude. Bowmaster's enough? Bowmasters might be good enough that I just keep it. Yeah. No shuffle. Land drop. Pass turn. The Tamiyo is a wizard. That's uncounterable. Just gonna take a quick look here at my stuff with void counters on it. Taking this hit, unfortunately, which puts my life total in a pretty bad place. My opponent can crack a clue and then have a Tamiyo, and I think this one is over. I will respond there and put the Phelia into play. Okay. So I will kind of go all in here. This is also a counterspell for the Thoughtseize, although it doesn't look like it. But that just leaves me with a land, so this can't be taken. My opponent goes to 12. Alright, they're not cracking the clue. I think this is a we're solving one problem at a time situation here. Bowmasters. I think ping Douthie. Go to combat. Attack Kaito. Trigger on Bowmaster. Seems like opponent has something. Ah, shit. They have their own Bowmaster. I think that kills me. I lose Bowmaster. My Phelia attack doesn't get anywhere. Now there's both of these in play. I can chump block a Kaito for a turn. I suspect this is the point where I don't come back from that interaction. Oh, they can also just double block Phelia if they want to kill Phelia, which is super reasonable. All right, I'm gonna tap out there. They've got it. So immediately playing games with this and like seeing no real removal, I suspect that we are going to get absolutely bodied throughout this league. Like this is the Tamiyo format, and we don't have answers to Tamiyo other than Solitude. So buckle up, it might be a rough league. GG's, and hopefully I'm wrong. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. All right. Opening hand is fine. I think I need to ponder for more colored mana sources here. That'll do. I am willing to take 2 of those. And I'm not super interested in the Solitude. The Stoneforge Mystic looks like it's critical to my plan as of right now. That looks like what I'm going to do to actually win the game. Basic Forest, sure. This means that I can Bowmasters as a removal spell to slow down my opponent. We might be looking at something like a Food Chain Goblins list here. Ignoble Hierarch is not a super common card, and you tend to see it in the food chain lists and occasionally in some of the like Gaia's Cradles. I'm going to play a bunch of Mana Dorks and do something silly lists. An Opposing Wasteland? Hey, yeah, I'm going to play a bunch of lands and do something silly with them. So my opponent can do that on Wasteland. And it's kind of annoying because when that wasteland leaves play, it's going to get returned to the battlefield tapped. So I can't even like wasteland that wasteland to do good things here. Now wasteland also taps for bonus mana now. And I don't just have fatal pushes and swords to look for here. I might just lose both of these lands immediately. I think I am pondering looking for more colored mana. This is... Well, alright. Guess we're going this direction. I will, I guess, Thoughtseize. Ooh! 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. This isn't green. I can take Natural Order next turn. Just have no removal, so if this gets into play, it's just there forever. I suppose this could make copies of a Wasteland, huh? Gross. Let's try to... Might just be losing both of my lands. Fuck! Alright, let's take this. One problem at a time. Solitude, pitch, Stoneforge. Take out the Badgermole Cub. Play Wasteland. Send in for 2. And I probably have to Wasteland that. Have that Wasteland come back so that I'm not losing both of my colored lands to it over 2 turns. And then I just hope that I have this available for Reanimate on Solitude. Yeah, cool. I do. Burn Catacombs, the land drop for turn. So now we'll Thoughtseize and take the Natural Order. There's a lot of nothing over there, and I can Reanimate a Solitude or maybe even this in the coming turns. Feel like we dodged a couple of bullets there. Opponent has a Surveil land. Saying no to a Mana Dork. They're looking for business spells right now. There's Dryad Arbor. Alright. I could try to Brainstorm and get lucky and hit a land drop here, which I think I am going to go ahead and do. Alright, I do hit a land drop. I'll go bam, bam. Maybe not exactly how I would want this to play out, but maybe it's good enough. I'm not very good at answering creatures. So this is a 2/2. Bowmasters is not removal for it anymore. That's annoying. I really did want those clues. My opponent can just start making copies of Dryad Arbors, and my offense isn't exactly stellar. So I guess we are just going to go ahead and Reanimate the Solitude. This will still be there if I remove this Dryad Arbor. So I think I'm removing the Oof and sending in... my situation's not great. I don't have white mana. I'm committing my next turn's worth of mana to cracking a clue. I suspect what's going to happen is at some point my opponent finds a green sun or a Natural Order or just naturally draws a hoof, and I'm just done. Dryad Arbor number 3. Dryad Arbor number 4. Oh shit, do we have Court of Calling? Oh no, we're just making more Dryad Arbors still. I got excited when I saw a creature tapping, but it's just a mana creature. They just keep doing that? Why is that happening? Oh, I see. It keeps re-triggering itself because it is a land. Yeah, that's not great for me. Let's see what's going on under here. Not something that helps. So I'll send in with a Tamiyo. I need to flip this Tamiyo as to not die to the army of Dryad Arbors that is coming. I was in a very bad situation. The Collector Oof means that I can't crack these, but this combo is not great either. So my opponent is going to funnel a ton of mana into repeatedly producing Dryad Arbors. Probably doing that 7 more times. And I expect that I'm just dead to that next turn if I don't find something that makes Tamiyo transform. I can hit a cantrip, and that'll help a ton. So let's do draw 2. I don't hit it. I can remove this. I think I'm just dead. So this interaction is on my radar now, but I just don't have swords and fatal pushes. And the first 1 mana removal spell I have is Prismatic Ending. I am unhappy about that. Natural Order matters as something that I need to Force of Will. My white count is not amazing for Solitude, especially if I'm trying to Ephemerate it at the same time. I don't know how reliable Reanimate is. I don't know that I want to Force of Will a bunch of my opponent's stuff. Might try something like that. I guess I'll keep this. And I also just don't get Surveil lands in this mana base. I suspect this is a day where we just very, very quickly are going to see what it means to have a well-built deck by getting punched around by having very, very real weaknesses. Okay, I mean, that's not bad. Let's fetch with Flooded Strand. I think given that BADGERMOLE CUB is in this deck, I will go ahead and do this, play a Stoneforge. I think I'm going Kaldra, and I don't. Maybe I should just remove it immediately. I don't really want to. I would love to have Kaldra plus another thing, but in my opponent's Gaia's Cradle deck where they can get pretty silly, maybe I just have to Stone Rain my opponent when I can. And next turn I get to reanimate the Solitude, take out another body, get in there with Kaldra, and maybe get out ahead before it becomes obvious that I don't have enough removal to keep up with what my opponent is doing. Alright, there is BADGERMOLE CUB. Riddler's okay. We can get to that in a minute. So, reanimate Solitude, remove BADGERMOLE CUB, activate this, put in Kaldra, go to Punchies for 5. I have a very strong position. Hopefully next turn I get a draw 2 off of Quantum Riddler. Finding an Ephemerate for Solitude would be cool. Alright, there's the whole landfall thing. Just going to be insects this turn. Although my opponent's also getting a Surveil. Okay, Solitude's almost good. So bam, warp the Riddler in to get my draw 2. Okay, Ephemerate is cool. So combat, Punchies, and honestly, I think Punchies. Opponent does not block. They go to 6. There's varying degrees of greedy I can be here that involve blanking this Quantum Riddler and hoping for a white card redraw. I don't think I do that. I think I will just go ahead and take out the Bayou here, which is going to come back, but now it's detached from this, but that does give them an insect. So it's not ideal. But now I will get to Solitude away another creature the following turn. I do not want to be playing the fair blue deck in this matchup. Opponent has a lot of really good value-oriented creatures. Maybe I feel differently if I have, 4 Fatal Push, 4 Swords to Plowshares, or maybe 6 split between them. Is a BADGERMOLE CUB. A Mortuary is now going to be able to tap for 2 mana. Oh god. That is 7 mana. 9 mana with Mortuary. If my opponent has a green sun, I am just fucking dead. Fiend Artisan. That is a great thing to dump a ton of mana into. Yeah, that's a natural order. I'm dead. Yeah. Not even fucking close. That's the first time I've seen BADGERMOLE CUB in action in Legacy. This is sweet. GG. Alright, opening hand is a reasonable set of cards, but I don't have any way to win the game, and maybe not even any way to dig towards winning the game. Alright, we're doing the same sort of thing as last round, which is not great for me. I'm taking one of the cards in the left column. I think the Planeswalker is scariest for me over a prolonged period of time. But just looking at the opening hands here, I fully do not expect to win. Again, I do not have 1-for-1 removal spells in this deck. I can potentially Force of Will one of Endurance or Fiend Artisan. But I might need to use my Ponder to just try to dig towards something good. Ponder into Reanimate Grist. All of these value creatures are just going to fucking eat me alive. Alternatively, I try to answer both Ignoble Hierarchs and make it so that my opponent can never cast any of their cards, but I think that's unrealistic because I can't close the game quickly with something like a Murktide Regent. Alright, there's an Ephemerate. And I think I'm going to give up on the Force of Will. Stoneforge? That not coming down this turn is a little annoying. But I think this is the plan. I think the plan is Stoneforge or Kaldra, Ephemerate Stoneforge, Stoneforge for Sword of Feast and Famine, and just go through all of their nonsense. Alright, there's a white, but we will see how scary the lands my opponent has in their deck are. They're waiting to pay costs on something weird. It's just the Fiend Artisan. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and fetch that land off the top of the deck here. I think just getting a basic. No. Take out a Cradle, play Stoneforge, and grab that Kaldra. I can't Stoneforge activate and Ephemerate in the same turn cycle right now. Again, basic lands are very good. There is some downsides of trying to play a bunch of basic lands in a 3-color deck. That's fine. On just getting a basic land there. There's a Hierarch, a Noble one. I know Endurance is there. I'm just going to dismiss that. I'm probably Thought Seizing in the next turn cycle anyway. So, double Exalted. I'm taking a good chunk of damage. That is not a land that casts Ephemerate. So I guess we're on Thought Seize instead. The Green Sun is scarier. And I don't think I am the beatdown here. My opponent has a reasonable amount of mana. Like, this can be a Cradle. Cradle Fiend Artisan is very, very good. It is Wasteland instead. That's fine. It's not great for me, but it could be worse. In the medium term, I don't know that I'm really going to end up being safe from the white. Everybody's coming to party, because my opponent can just phase out my Germ with Talon Gates of Madara. So goodbye, Hierarch. And there we go. So I get hit for 9 of my 10 life here. Force of Will be offline. And that is 3 bodies for next turn. And I get Wastelanded. So if there's another Talon Gates, I'm dead. Pick up Sword, pass turn. And even if I'm not dead immediately, Fiend Artisan, Recursion, and White of the Reliquary nonsense maybe has me in bad shape. So there's a Green Sun. That is a BADGERMOLE CUB. Everybody's coming to party. The BADGERMOLE CUB allows my... What the fuck is this interaction? That's so fucking good. So the BADGERMOLE CUB turns it into a land that can then come back to phase out my creature. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Very dead. GG. I already think that I am just in very, very bad shape here. I think last time I trimmed some stuff rather than fully cutting things. I don't feel good about this matchup at all. Alright, my opening hand does not have land here. That is not gonna do it. Not call. Okay, I'm not trying to be too picky here. I don't think that wins the game of Magic the Gathering against this tough matchup. I don't know that this one's gonna do it either, but I think this has a decent shot. And I think I'm gonna value my own stable mana here. If I'm gonna have something that can attempt to carry the game after mulliganing to 5, Tamiyo into Stoneforge is a honestly pretty good recipe. But Tamiyo is a lot worse, at least my opponent has mulliganed. Tamiyo is a lot worse without the, like, dazes and fatal pushes and swords to plowshares, the, like, highly efficient removal that I would be wanting. Hierarch is fine. Wasteland came back. Let's see if we can steal this one with Kaldra again. And then collect my clue. Opponent has a fetch land. There's the BADGERMOLE CUB. Is going to make the Bayou tap for 2 mana this turn. Oh, this is going to take some getting used to. So my opponent taps it for black and makes an additional green, allowing them to cast white immediately. Seems good. This is just Kaldra backing Tamiyo here. I can't really wasteland this Bayou because BADGERMOLE CUB nonsense. It'll just come back. Alright. Well, yeah. Kaldra. Send it. Make my clue. There's 5 damage. Opponent goes to 14. And this is honestly nothing more than a distraction. Oh, okay. Go back 1 and 2. Tamiyo plus. And next turn I get to just equip Kaldra with Sword. And this turns into a 2-turn clock instead of a probably much longer clock. But again, White of the Reliquary plus this like Bayou that will just come back means that all sorts of crazy things can happen with the phasing that can disrupt what I'm doing. Oh god, and there's just Cradle. That is a grist. So my opponent can sacrifice the Bayou and then destroy my Tamiyo. Seems good. Fiend Artisan. The BADGERMOLE CUB makes the Noble Hierarch also tap for 2 to be able to Fiend Artisan immediately. Just overall very, very strong there. So I can Wasteland Gaia's Cradle or do the sort of Feast and Famine thing. I think I am doing the sort of Feast and Famine thing. And more accurately, I should say attempting. I don't really know that this is going to work. If it does work, I can play a Stoneforge and crack a clue or crack a clue wasteland. But this phasing on a stick is so good. There's a lot of moving parts over there, and all of them are bad for me. I suspect that my opponent could click on their cards in a random order at this point and probably end up thrashing me. Like, the Grist is generating a ton of value. The Fiend Artisan opens up a ton of possibilities with Gaia's Cradle. The white is very strong. Fiend Artisan can also get BADGERMOLE CUB, turn Talon Gates into a land that is sacrificable via white. Oh my god. Um, I don't like this. There's another white as well. White is also just a vigilant creature on top of everything else here. Fiend Artisan activates. It was an X equals 3. What the fuck is this? Tyvar. Tap another untapped creature you control. Tyvar is indestructible. And creatures you control get +X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Okay, I don't love that. I suspect that I am dead. So thing number one I want to learn, I guess, is does my opponent have another Talon Gates or whatever, or are they even going to do that? So this is going to allow me to untap my lands. So I will just draw with a clue here. Untap all those bad boys. Then let's figure out what to do with life. I don't have anything cool to ephemerate. I think we are going bam. I can get Batterskull into play, but this is a problem, this activation. I think I am just going bam, 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 1 and 2. There's Stoneforge. But I wasteland a Cradle, and then my opponent just sacrifices like a BADGERMOLE CUB and gets another one. So I don't know that this actually gets me anywhere. I'm playing against an engine deck without the ability to interact reasonably with their engine. So BADGERMOLE CUB goes away. There's Cradle again. I have 2 bodies in play. My opponent could kill one of them. Otherwise, my opponent just has a lot of mana. Let's see where this goes. I guess if they try to kill one of these, I can Stoneforge Blink it. Dryad Arbor goes bye-bye on this Stoneforge. So I'll blink it. Obviously don't have anything left to get. But the Tyvar activation still seems like it's going to be lethal, right? These are 6/6s. So Tyvar activates for 2 lands. Every creature gets +6/+6. 2 of these creatures get through, and I believe I'm already dead. Yeah. Disgusting. I did not have that extra turn to get in there. We are getting our butts absolutely thrashed today. GG. All right, round 4. We have an okay 6-card hand here that has a Kaldra. Are we doing this again? I can't fucking win this matchup. If this is another BADGERMOLE CUB deck, I'm going to lose my mind. All right, not great for me. I have lost Stoneforge Mystic, which makes this Kaldra much worse than it already was. We're going to be looking for a Brainstorm at this point. Maybe we can make opponent stumble early and then use a Bowmasters on a Mana Dork. Maybe. Alright, that's a Mana Dork that I can maybe kill with a Bowmasters. Ephemerate not doing me any favors right now. Basic Forest, BADGERMOLE CUB. My opponent knows that I have Orcish Bowmasters, and now they get to do that shit. Thanks. I hate it. And just in case you're confused here, it does become a 0/0 instead of the base 1/1 with a +1/+1 counter on it. I'm trying to figure out if I am even supposed to play Orcish Bowmasters. I think I am going to do that with the intention of ephemerating in a minute. So I think I'm just going to do this and remove that counter now. No, it enters tapped. I should have done that in upkeep. Well, if I do it in upkeep, then it just taps for Once Upon a Time. All right. No win situation for me, apparently. Another Bayou, White of the Reliquary. And again, I don't have nice removal to just take that out easily, unless I happen to luck into Solitude. I can ephemerate a Dryad Arbor. Let's see. Do I ponder for it? Ponder is 4 looks at Solitude specifically. No, I need to brainstorm because I need a white card to pitch to reanimate. Alright. Get rid of Kaldra and land. Fetch to clear. Do another Underground Sea. Do another Brainstorm. Not find what I am looking for. I guess we're just doing this. Kill the Dryad Arbor. Turn that into a 2/2. That's now a 3/3, so I can't actually attack in. Fuck! New Mana Dork. Cradle. I'm taking a hit from white. I am, and I'm not going to mess around with that. I'll just take the 4. Opponent has 1 card left. Ephemerate. Ephemerate Bowmasters. This looks like a removal spell, but it ends up just turning an Ignoble Hierarch into some land. I'm fine to do it to force the choice on my opponent now. It is a Mortuary. Opponent keeps their card on top. I hate that. Let's try to make this better. No. I think I am putting back land, and I think I just have to do a Ponder Shuffle here. I don't know that that is a long-term plan. I think I will get eaten alive if I do that. Riddler, I can't really use right now. I might just be reanimating a Stoneforge Mystic to get a card out of my hand here. So there we go. Say yes. Pick up Kaldra. So I have Force of Will for if that card that was topped is very, very scary. I do not have Force of Will. I mean, sometimes I lose another card, but if my opponent's next card is the Natural Order or whatever, it just takes a Force of Will and that clears the way here. Alright, I did lose Kaldra. That is a Grist. That's a bit of a problem card. Now these can send in, and I will go ahead and block, and then ephemerate that Stoneforge. Say yes, pick up the sword, and because I'm trying to kind of skimp on the Stoneforge Mystic package, I don't actually have something like a pre-war formal wear. Although I wouldn't have a creature. Alright. I'll ephemerate Bowmaster. In your face. Reanimate is not actually amazing here. I can get a Grist, but this just blinks stuff out. Put in sword. Equip sword. Let's see if this gets to connect. Oh, shockingly it does. I get to untap all of that stuff. That means I can now reanimate the Grist. Opponent sacks. They might have a main deck Bojuka Bog. They do have a main deck Bojuka Bog, but that has the side effect of shrinking the white. Now I will go ahead and just shift this piece of equipment around so that I have protection. I might win this one. Once upon a time. Revealing a white. Opponent now has 2 of those that are 2/2s. Let's do a little sword dance here. Send in for 5. Alright, connect. I untap my lands. I move the sword to a new creature. And we see what opponent top decks here. That is a Green Sun for 2 for Springheart. So my opponent can, in theory, sacrifice one of these 2 creatures to phase out my attacking creature. That hasn't happened yet. Let's do Ye Olde Equipment Dance. Send in. Alright, one of the whites is going. There's the phasing that I expected. Now my opponent also gets an insect. Oh shit, that phases this out too. That's fine. I mean, I would prefer if it wasn't, but maybe that means I wasn't supposed to move the equipment. Alright, there's BADGERMOLE CUB. So BADGERMOLE CUB on Talon Gates is exactly what my opponent needs to be able to do that again. And this just is also not a color, right? Oh, that BADGERMOLE CUB was devastating. And I drew a land. Yeah, I think I'm dead. So, like, I just try to do this, and this engine wrecks me. Yeah. So I get phased out again. My opponent gets another insect. Oh, there's also Lair of the Hydra. Gross. I don't believe I'm dead yet. I block Lair of the Hydra, I block white. And then that's 6 of 7. Lair of the Hydra is big. I'm dead if there's another Talon Gates, I think. That's 6. Go to 1. Send it. There either is or isn't another Talongates. Alright, we get there. Ugh. I have 0 confidence in my ability to do that again. So I've been doing some number of these things out. I know my opponent has the main deck Jukabog, so I might go fully out on the Reanimate. But that's, like, Reanimate is kind of a removal spell for Solitude, so I could attempt to Pithing Needle. I'm getting outvalued so savagely already that I don't know that I get to do that, though. I don't think I do. This is a 6-card hand with a Kaldra in it. It has Tamiyo, it has a Force of Will, it has a Thoughtseize. There's a decent amount of interaction here. I just outright die to a Wasteland sometimes. I think I'm just going to keep this one. I think I'm going to keep and hope for the best. Alright, that is a tapped land. That means that I can get going first with either Tamiyo or Thoughtseize. I think I am going to Thoughtseize. No, I'll Tamiyo. I can just Force of Will a scary 2-drop that comes down. Land drop 2, scary 2-drop that comes down. And normally in a blue deck, I could, like, let that resolve and not care about it too much, but I just don't have removal here. Send it. Make my clue. I will now Thoughtseize you. Let's not fuck around with the natural order. As much as I want to take the 2-drop that my opponent can cast, I don't know that I want to mess around with that when it goes wrong. This is draw 2. Okay, there's a way to kill that. I'm not the biggest fan of the other cards here, but I think I'm just going to accept killing that. These other cards are real bad, though. Like, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 cards that cost at least 2 mana. I'm gonna shuffle that. Riddler Ephemerate. Pretty good if I draw a land. If that's Misty before Springheart comes down. Riot Arbor. Alright. Don't love that. And that's a 2/2 that would not have died to Bowmasters with how my opponent played that out. Okay, there is the land. The land drop. Combat. Tamiyo attacks. Then there's the Riddler. That's draw 2. Here's Ephemerate. That's draw 3. And I will Tamiyo plus. Is there a way to squeeze one more card out of that if I Ephemerate with the first Quantum Riddler trigger on the stack? There might have been. That is a BADGERMOLE CUB. That's going to turn Underground Mortuary into something that taps for 2. And now my opponent can Verdant, copy, Dryad Arbor. We'll get them another Dryad Arbor, triggering this, and then they can fetch to get one more insect. Although they might just save it for next turn where it can become a Dryad Arbor. Rebounding Ephemerate is probably better than just attacking for 4 here. So let's Ephemerate. I'd honestly like to just find Supreme Verdict and clear out most of that. But some of it is resilient to removal. Yeah, Exhibit A. Another Riddler. Okay, let's assume that this needs to keep happening. I think I just draw a card here. Maybe I have to play Wasteland. Do that with the colorless mana. The snow-covered plains, that doesn't get me to where I want to be. My opponent has a bunch of onboard stuff, and I can have 2 creatures in play that block an attack. Things could be worse. That is, I think, fully where we're at. I'm just going to always yield to this. This is just happening. I have no control over this right now. Opponent does not copy Dryad Arbor too many times there. I will say no to that. I would like to aggressively trade cards here because I have Quantum Riddler. Now there's Phelia. Land drop's not what I'm looking for. I think Tamiyo is going to 8 with the intention of ultimating next turn. I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and attack in and just blink that so it's not attached to Dryad Arbor anymore. Opponent can trade away some insects for this, and I don't care. Can't get this Kaldra out of my hand. Go ahead and do this. I mean, okay. Take another redraw. That's a Force of Will. I don't have anything to pair with it. My opponent only has 1 power worth of attackers here, so hopefully the Tamiyo just ultimates, and that's that. We won. We are on the scoreboard, but morale is low, folks. Let's see if we can get some play points back. GG. Alrighty, opening hand is fine here. I think I am just going to generically ponder. Yeah, finding an Ephemerate would be good here. That was the exact thing that was on my mind. So let's go bam, bam, bam. No shuffle. So now we have Ephemerate, Solitude with a white card to pitch. Otherwise, I just have like Wasteland you, buy some time. Can jam Stoneforge, can jam Phelia. This is totally fine. Let's go for the thing that I can flash in on my opponent's end step. And let's see what sort of polluted delta deck they are. There's been a decent amount of Reanimator online. Queued into Doomsday quite a few times recently. Basic Island. I don't know if I'm playing this game on basics. I kind of want 2 white mana next turn. So let's just go Tundra here. And play the Phelia. Daze is fine. Don't fucking do that. I don't like that. I had other things I wanted to do with my turn. 18. Reanimate? That is, I think, interesting, but not what I'm doing here. So let's fully take Daze out of the equation. Solitude, pitch, Stoneforge Mystic. Take out Bowmasters. Ephemerate Solitude. Clear out Orc Army token. I've got a stable-ish board with the ability to reanimate Phelia on the next turn. And this is why I thought about basics. So say no to that. Okay. 3 damage. Fetch. This will be a scrub land, so it can cast both of my cards. Reanimate Phelia. Basic Island, and just good old sorcery speed Brainstorm to play around my own Orcish Bowmasters. Is reasonable. I'd love to draw something to blink with Phelia. I don't hit it. We will just say no to that. Clock my opponent for 5. And now I've got Ephemerate as a removal spell or protection spell here. Another Wasteland. That's not black mana to cast my opponent's creatures. Another Ephemerate. That's not something to blink with Phelia. Whatever. Hit you for 5. Petty Theft. I'm going to Ephemerate. That just keeps my creature in play and effectively serves as a counterspell for Brazen Borrower. And it also makes it so that my opponent can't really play a creature in their next turn cycle, or I just get the Ephemerate value immediately. 2 Wastelands. How you feeling about those? One of them is fired off. Second one isn't. Say no to that. Nice. I didn't get Wastelanded. So now I get to do this. Say yes. Pick up Kaldra. Go to combat. Send in for 5 again. Trigger on Stoneforge. Goes to 6, and that's good enough for my opponent. And I did not need to show them my sword, which is cool. So, opponent's deck is relatively ambiguous as of right now. We haven't seen anything that screams, this is Reanimator. So I think it is reasonable for my opponent to be Reanimator or just a Dimir Tempo deck. I think I'm going to board for Tempo. I think that means Force of Wills out, removal in, Batter Skull in. And if my opponent is playing Reanimator, we can reevaluate Force of Wills and Graveyard Hates afterward. We would also consider Pithing Needle on Wasteland. My mana requirements are a little tough. I might be able to just do basics depending on what the opening hand looks like. This is very close to good. It has a removal spell and a reanimate to bring it back. It doesn't have the white card to pitch. It has a Bowmaster, which is fine. Let's try to keep and believe. Basically anything other than the final Wasteland makes this hand better. Phelia is fine. Will just be land drop and pass. With the white card, I now have Solitude Reanimate on the table. That's a Wasteland. I'm probably just going to Wasteland their Wasteland. Ephemerate Solitude is cool. I think I'll just pass the turn here. And then we'll kind of see where the priority passes end up going. If I don't Wasteland now, something like a Barrogoyf can come down, but I don't care about that. I think I'm just going to let this move forward. Okay, it is Reanimator. So I could Bowmasters in response to this. I think I want to be able to Solitude and then Ephemerate if a creature hits play. So I don't think I'm responding to that. Archon of Cruelty in the bin. And I think I go ahead and just let that happen. And my opponent's going to get their good value out of it. Let's Solitude, pitch Phelia. And problem answered. Let it go, reanimate it in a bit. Yes. I'm going to discard Ephemerate. Trying to protect this singular mana source from Wasteland. I might just need to make moves now. Although, I could do this and pass, and just continue trying to decide whether or not I want to mess around with this. There's some times where this Wasteland gets tapped that I will respond with a Bowmasters. Sure. Alright, and I have Reanimate for Solitude on that, so that's fine. I think with that on the stack, though, blue-black, use this as a moment to maybe test for a Daze in your face. 19, then this can resolve, and I've got some blocks for it, even if things go wrong. A second Reanimate. Alright, so I need to Reanimate first. So Reanimate Solitude. This plays around Daze. Solitude Goyf. Wasteland. Send in for 2. No creatures in graveyard for Reanimate. I would really like to see another land. Fuck. Dismember? Bitter Triumph instead. Okay. The opponent is now going to Careful Study. So I would love it if they put a giant thing into the graveyard and then I get to reanimate it. That's an Atraxa. Nice. So combat is 4 damage. And honestly, more importantly, it gives me a little life back because this is about to hurt. Reanimate on Atraxa. Fuck, it's Daze. I don't have any mana to prevent that. No. The opponent's got their window. If they can put the Atraxa in play, they probably win. That is a Goyf. I, in theory, have an answer to that. Fine with just doing it now. I'm really... if I draw land, I have other things that I can do. I think we're fine with just doing this now. We send a creature to exile. I bash in for 4. 13. This Underground Sea is going bye-bye. It is just a question of when. Daze Underground Sea. I get Wastelanded. Yep. Okay, they don't have it yet. So, Prismatic Ending is not great. Opponent is at 9. Reanimate is still on the table. Reanimate on Atraxa is not live for much longer. Oh, please let me rip a white source off the top. Oop. Send him. This gets in for 3 damage. Opponent is at 6, but now has an unchecked Tamiyo. So, the clue tokens are incredible at this stage of the game. I need a white mana. Fuck. I need a white mana very badly. And Tamiyo can pick up a reanimate or a removal spell from the graveyard next turn. Not good for me. And my opponent just has a bunch of mana. Especially relative to where I'm at. Damn. Okay. So I can attack the Tamiyo for 2. Or I can put my opponent to 4. I think Bitter Triumph, discarding a card, getting rid of Solitude, is very bad for me. So I think I do have to go with the Tamiyo. But if I am only attacking the Tamiyo for 2, I am not making any progress anymore. And all it takes is 1 Animate Dead or whatever. And I'm probably out of this game. Oh, that's just a Kaito. Yeah, that's awful. I imagine... Oh no, just going for the plus. Alright, am I still pretending that I'm playing this game? I think I'm still pretending that I'm playing this game. I can still hit white land to get rid of Tamiyo. And then there's just 1 Planeswalker. I don't think this orc does anything anymore. I'm just going to not let my opponent get in to be able to surveil. Or rather, draw the card. Tamiyo and Misty to graveyard. Cracking Clue. Hey, that is a white basic land. Basic Plains. Attempt to remove Tamiyo. Okay, not Daze, not Force of Will. That's great. I guess we'll send 2 at Kaito. Kaito is just going to end up stunning the Solitude. Bowmasters is not good for me. That was the illusion of choice. So I lose Solitude. And now my opponent has the Surveil draw card machine going along with Bowmasters. This is bad and has been bad for a long time. Alright, there's a Tamiyo again. There's a Brainstorm again. I now need, like, blue basic land. Thoughtseize is not doing it. So, attempt to remove Tamiyo. Succeed. This is awful. I am not getting to play Magic here. And, by the way, don't forget about the Atraxa in graveyard. That means that as soon as my opponent picks up an Animate Dead, I'm fully out of this game. They're getting to look at a minimum of 3 cards per turn. It shouldn't take long. Solitude does not answer my Kaito problem due to Hexproof on my opponent's turn. So I have no super reasonable play here. I don't think I am taking out Bowmasters with Solitude if there is potentially an Atraxa coming. I'm just getting bodied 5 damage at a time here. Kaido keeps surveilling. That was top. That's not good. Well, we can try. Basically, cards in my opponent's hand are good against this play. Like, this is Dazeable, this is Forcible. Yep, there's the Daze. Another Bowmasters. Alright, I think this is the point where I'm gonna stop pretending like I can get my way back into this. So now we know that my opponent is Reanimator. There's still just a very, very real possibility of losing to the fair stuff. I think I'm going to do a couple of things that help me get better versus the unfair stuff. I think I do want Surgical, Leyline. But I think Supreme Verdict is going to go now. I have so few removal spells. I want to cut Ephemerates, but without just like Swords to Plowshares that cleanly trade 1-for-1, I don't know if I can do that. I think I'm going to get rid of 1 and just trim a card that is bad versus Bowmasters, or that is bad if my opponent reanimates it. This is reasonable. I don't know that I get to play basics here. There's plenty of timelines where I need multiple colors in the same turn cycle, especially when we get to about turn 3. Alright. Opponent keeps their card. I have some options here. I think I'm just going to hold up Bowmasters. I'd rather have Bowmasters be dazed than Stoneforge. That's just a wasteland, and this is pretty awkward. Let's fetch, grab Underground Sea. So if I clue token and my opponent has Bowmasters, they get good value here. But I don't know that I want to Bowmasters immediately. Sword of Feast and Famine, not what I'm looking for. I just need more land. I get my clue. I think I'm just going to pass here. Opponent does not use their mana in this turn cycle. There's Misty, Surveilling, Grizzlebrand randomly hit there. I mean, I'll put a Bowmaster in play in response. Or try to more accurately. Okay. There's still a 7/7 lifelinker in play, which is perhaps not ideal. So, Thoughtseize you. Let's see if there's like a Force of Will protection here. There's a bunch of clunk. My opponent's not wastelanding me because they want to play a Kaito. There's no creatures in graveyard. I think well, there's about to be a Solitude in graveyard. I lose Tamiyo. I only have 2 power in play versus Kaito. Yeah, I'll still take the Kaito. So then Solitude, junk the Grizzlebrand. Opponent goes to 17. Send it. And now I have a bunch of cool cards that I can't use because I will probably get wastelanded off a land in this turn cycle. Presumably while losing my Tamiyo? Yeah. Ooh, I lost Bowmasters instead. Which is a little annoying because I have a second Tamiyo. Yep. Looted Delta. Well, you know, we'll take it. Yeah. Second main. Brainstorm. 0 lands in my top 3. Next turn I can maybe ponder through a bad card. Maybe let's not redraw that Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize reanimate is funny, but I don't know. Maybe that is better to work towards than just having an extra Quantum Riddler that I probably can't use. Tamiyo plus. Opponent has their own Brainstorm now. There's a Misty. Unclear how many of those cards my opponent has now. So this goes down to 2. I can't kill it. You have your own Bowmasters. You have your own Bowmasters. Sure. I'm going to just get rid of those. My Tamiyo takes some damage there. No creatures in graveyard yet. I can ponder and look for a land. I think I'm just going to Thoughtseize my opponent. and maybe do a 2-turn line where I reanimate one of their cool things if they are still in hand. Brazen Borrower. What is the thing here? Ward, sacrifice 3 non-land permanents. So my opponent does have that right now. Alright, I will just take the Brazen Borrower. So luckily, because Tamiyo is a bullshit Magic the Gathering card, we're not actually like losing out here. I am just staying neutral. It's not exactly good for me. Am I willing to just reanimate? I'm gonna do this. I would love to reanimate my opponent's Bowmaster in a minute. That's a daze. Alright. Prevail land. Opponent keeps their card. Not really what I want to see. Ephemerate is not good right now. Am I just reanimating Brazen Borrower simply to use my mana? I don't really want to ponder and make it so the Orc Army token can start attacking. I think I'll just reanimate my fucking Tamiyo. Alright. Reasonable blocker in play. It doesn't go with some of like the highest upside for what I could do with a reanimate. I think we'll just take it. So this is 2, this is 3. My opponent can still make the attack to gain the life. If they happen to have a Bowmaster, it's annoying. But I think I just accept that. My opponent has their own Tamiyo. Alright. Wasteland. Ephemerate is target creature you control, so I can't ephemerate my Solitude instantly. And I don't just have easy removal spells to return. I think we're maybe on keep Tamiyo plussing and hope for the best. I'll pass turn here. Everything that I do draws cards. Tamiyo triggers. I will keep defending the Tamiyo. Again, I wish I just had like a Fatal Push. Just Fatal Push something, pick up Fatal Push again is so good. That is scary. Where am I at on the Force of Will spectrum? No. So it's resolving. But I might now need to just crack a clue. So that is not enough to transform my opponent's Tamiyo. Game is falling apart. I think I'm going to try to hit another land drop. I'll lose this Tamiyo here, presumably. I can't get white card for Solitude. Well, I could get Solitude and white card if everything is perfect. But everything is not perfect. No cool things for a reanimate. I can draw a whole bunch of cards with Quantum Riddler and let my opponent's Bowmasters go ham. Nope. Alright, there's a Solitude. No white card. No white card in graveyard that I can bring back with Tamiyo. I think I'm going to go ahead and Solitude. I'm going to take out this Bowmasters first. I don't have another white card immediately to just minus Tamiyo. Go Tundra here. Warp this in. And use this card draw to determine what I'm doing with Tamiyo. Ending this next turn. Try to be annoying with this. So I've stopped the scaling Orc Army token. I'm going to lose this Tamiyo. And probably take 3-ish damage. We'll see. There's a lot of ways that my opponent could do this, where like this is just going to my face for value. Yeah, that's going at my face for value, and the other two are attacking Tamiyo. So my Tamiyo is going to live. But my opponent gets a clue token and a Barrogoyf trigger this turn. I'm at 10. Opponent fetches. Rigor. Okay, no hit. That's nice for me. Oh god. It's another one. I don't have Supreme Verdict that I'm working towards, right? That's just in my sideboard right now. Alright. I can Tamiyo minus, get reanimate. Reanimate, answer 1 Goyf. I can Prismatic Ending, answer something. Alright. Tamiyo minus on reanimate. Land drop, reanimate, Solitude. Solitude answer 1. Prismatic Ending. I want to get rid of the Tamiyo. My life total is precious. I think I am Prismatic Ending on the Orc token. Currently I chump block, take 3. Don't think that's changing. I'm just going to draw a card while Bowmasters can't come down. A new Solitude. Okay. Life's bad. Maybe I'm not fully dead, but it sure isn't good. I also very realistically might time out. This has been a very, very tough game in terms of everything is terrible, and I am trying to cling to life. So we're trying to keep this from connecting. Gonna flip that Tamiyo. Tamiyo to 4. And a land drop. Opponent has a bunch of stuff in hand that they're not playing. That probably doesn't bode well for me. Kaldra's a bad draw. I'll redraw with a clue. That's another surgical extraction. I'll redraw with Quantum Riddler. That's a daze. All right. The problem I have is the problem that I've had with the deck the entire time. We do not have efficient 1-for-1 removal to dig towards. GG. Welp, that was a beating. Overall thoughts on the deck list? Not acceptable. The basic rules of engagement in Legacy right now are Tamiyo is the best thing in the format. Your entire deck needs to be built around stopping Tamiyo. And we do not have 1 mana removal in the main deck that answers Tamiyo. As a 3-color deck, we're not even all that good at pitch casting Solitude, which is something that showed up quite a few times. And as the 3-color deck, we're also trying to squeeze in 3 Wastelands while playing 4 basic lands. This deck is not working on multiple different levels. The biggest and most important thing is just simply that it does not have 1 mana removal. But beyond that, I think the mana is greedy, and I think the deck is not focused enough. Like, you're trying to do the Solitude Ephemerate Quantum Riddler thing while also trying to have Reanimate, while also trying to have Stoneforge. I think you have to let some of this go. And there are probably some Stoneblade, Blink style decks in the recent 5.0 decklist dumps, and maybe challenges even, that you can use as a basis to figure out what's going on here. But it felt like very frequently everything that I was doing just cost too much mana. So Phelia is 2, Stoneforge is 2, Bowmasters is 2, Clue Token is 2, Quantum Riddler is 2, Equip Sword is 2. And without the efficient removal paired with this, I just couldn't take enough game actions to keep up with what my opponent was doing. So Night Fox, I hope that all is helpful. Good luck in doing your deck building and retooling this. And folks, I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya!